trying to get a hold of me. That's you.
It was me. This meeting is being live streamed. By staying in this meeting, the content will be live streamed. I got it. That's a new prompt that they're starting. There's always like this weird 15-second phase where I don't know if we're live or not because I'm trying to watch it in like 8 different places. So it gets trapped in the matrix, but it looks like we're up and running. Awesome, man. Hey, Monday night, man, we're back in action. Parents Helping Parents Live. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm kind of particularly excited. I just realized that at dinner I must have spilt some stuff all over my shirt, so I'll try to stay under the frame here so I still look presentable. I'm excited about tonight, mainly because I get to talk to one of my friends that I haven't talked to in several months, and I miss the guy. But not only that, like I really trust his professional judgment. I think he's got a lot of great information for us. So if you're new here, welcome to Parents Helping Parents Live. So Parents Helping Parents is a nonprofit Oklahoma-based organization with the mission of providing education, resources, and peer-to-peer support to parents who have a child any age who's struggling with a substance use disorder. So we're founded by parents, we're primarily run by parents, and we just want to make sure that if there's a parent out there who's got a child that is struggling with substance use disorder, whether they're 15 or 45, that we provide them with support, we help provide them with some education, we connect them with resources in the community. And more importantly, we want to share stories of hope, things that some of our parents have learned along the way, pitfalls to avoid, or things that they wish somebody would have told them 15 or 20 years ago when their child was struggling that would have made a difference. So I want to direct you to 2 different places for more information about our organization specifically. One of those is our website, www.parentshelpingparents.info. That's where you can find information, lots of information, resource directories, direct phone numbers to what we call warm lines. They're not hotlines, they're not answered 24/7. But they are answered a lot throughout the day. And if you leave a voicemail, somebody will get back to you really fast. Those are for parents to call and actually talk with somebody on the phone and get some support. There's information on the website that can provide you with a parent coach that will actually walk alongside you through this process and help you on the journey. There's also information there about our live chapters. So we actually host in-person live meetings at several different cities across Oklahoma. This live stream is a great resource. This virtual chapter is a great resource for people who can't attend one of those meetings. But we all know there's nothing more valuable than being in a room with people who are providing care and support for you during a difficult situation. So if it's possible to connect with a live chapter, we would love for you to do that. So that's the website. You can actually follow us also at Parents Helping Parents Inc. on the Facebook page, and that's where you can get updates on all the different wonderful things we're doing, including updates about our upcoming fundraiser this fall that I don't think you're going to want to miss. So that's all really good information. Let's everybody do me a favor right now. Reach up. If you're watching on Facebook, there's this little share button that is very valuable. And if you hit that share button, what happens is this video that you're watching is shared to your timeline. So I'm going to do it right now while I'm talking about it. People are always asking like, hey, how can we support your small business? How can we support your organization? And this isn't just true of Parents Helping Parents. This is true of any great company, any great nonprofit, any great organization. One of the things that you can do to support them that's very simple and very easy and that costs you no money is to share their content on social media. It exponentially increases the reach that we have. So if you've got 1,000 friends on Facebook and you share this video, there's potentially several people who might need to hear the message tonight that's going to get that wouldn't otherwise hear it because maybe they're not connected with our organization yet, or perhaps they just they don't even know about that they have a problem, right? Sometimes we just want to educate people. So I'm sharing that right now. It took me a second to get it pulled up. So I'm going to share it right now. I want you to share it right now. Let's get the message out. Share now, public, friends. There we go. So I am super stoked about our guest tonight. I'm stoked about all our guests. I don't want to say that they're, Mondays that I get on where I'm not stoked, but I'm particularly stoked tonight because we're joined by Anthony Haskins, who has become a good friend of mine, and I just enjoy seeing the guy. And we haven't been able to connect lately because life has been busy, and pandemics and work and all of these type things. But in addition to being a good friend, this is one of I think the best resources that has been in Oklahoma and around in a long time. He has a very wide and very deep level of experience with families and with interventions and with a whole host of problems, and has a very unique background that allows him to really help lots of people in our state and across the country. And I'm super excited about what he's got for us tonight. So Anthony, you're up, man. Welcome. Share with us a little bit, and then we'll discuss towards the end. All right, brother?
Wow, what a welcome, Derek. I don't know if I can live up to such a hype that you just put out for me, but I really appreciate it. I do. And you know that my life is about the mission of helping people. I feel like that's why God put me on this earth. And the path to get into this profession has been everything but a straight line. And it's been kind of interesting. And I'm thrilled to be back in Oklahoma. So I guess I'll kind of start with where I am currently, and we can kind of work back on how I got here. But I've now been back in Oklahoma for a little over a year. I returned in June of last year, and I had spent previously 20 years of my life working as the resource director for Dr. Phil, and I had on the side an intervention and coaching practice that I also ran as well. And my wife and I felt like God was telling us to come back to Oklahoma to raise our two girls. We have two beautiful daughters. Zaya is in the 6th grade, first year of middle school, and Thea is in the 4th. So they're Oklahoma girls now and have been living here for a year. My wife is now an Oklahoma girl, and she loves it here. And I have to tell you, I am so happy to be back in my home state. It has been too long. I'm born and raised in a small town in Oklahoma, Jones, if anybody has ever heard of that. It's about 20 miles east of maybe a little bit north, a little bit east of Oklahoma City, and born and raised in very humble beginnings there in Jones, and went on to Oklahoma State, where I studied business and was pre-med, but got inspired by a business law professor and took a bunch of his classes and ended up going to law school at SMU in Dallas, Texas. And that's where things kind of took another twist from being involved in business and then pre-med to going to law school, becoming a lawyer. I clerked at a med malpractice law firm. I was worked at the Dallas County Public Defender's Office and tried cases as a third-year barred attorney there. And I had decided that I didn't want to practice law. It wasn't really what I was passionate about. And in that process of being in Dallas and going to SMU law, I had come into contact with Dr. Phil and his family. And it was about the time that I was graduating when he was coming from Dallas to California to start his show. He was just appearing on Oprah on an ongoing basis. And he asked me to come out and start a department at the show that created resource plans for the guests once they were off the show, and we provided resources for them in their community. And I helped him compile an advisory board of nurse practitioners, doctors, physiologists, PhDs, sociologists, neurologists, a really wide range of professionals. And so for 20 years, I dedicated my life to his mission and to my private practice there in California. and I was able to get trained as an interventionist. I studied crisis intervention and intervention counseling at the North Texas Medical Science Center. After I graduated law school, I just kept going to school and learning, and was mentored by Dr. Frank Lawless, who wrote Retraining the Brain, and he became one of my great friends. He was the chief of the Dr. Phil Advisory Board, and so we've been linked up and have been passionate about helping people. And that brings me back to Oklahoma, where I take the kind of brain-based neurological approach to helping people, and strategies for intervention. And I think we have obviously a crisis in addiction, and we have families all over the place that are doing their best, but have no idea how to really get somebody where they need to be. And I spent a lot of my time backstage at the Dr. Phil show getting people where they needed to be. And I became a specialist in that. And I want to talk to you guys today about how to create a structured intervention for a friend or a family member. And I think this is really important things to understand, because it's a myth that somebody has to hit rock bottom in order to be ready for treatment. And there's things that you can do to create a sort of rock bottom moment for them, without that rock bottom moment being what might be 6 feet under the ground. That's the problem with waiting for that. You don't want to wait. You can already see the progression of the disease of addiction. You don't want to wait till they're buried underground to have done something to intervene. And so I want to talk about how to prepare a structured intervention, because if done properly, it will lead an addicted person to the help needed in order to get recovery. And I want you to keep these following points in mind. There's 8 points. And if you need to, get a pen and a piece of paper out and write these down, because there's 8 things that I really want you to keep in mind when you're ready to confront someone that is chemically dependent. The first one is get your team set properly. Get your team set properly. You need to get concerned people around that will help. And each person has to be willing to look the addict in the eye and say, you have a problem and you need help. And if any person feels uncomfortable with that, you have a weak link and someone that should not be a part of the process. And so it's important that when you're setting up a structured intervention, that you have an initial meeting with your team to make sure that every person is very firm in their ability to look them eye to eye and say to them, you have a problem and you need help. That's the first thing. And then so you have the right team, you have the right people, everybody is willing to help, they're concerned. And number 2 is you need to confront factually, but with love, care, and concern. You need to bring a written list of data to the intervention. And I'll describe this in detail in the end of this, of what data needs to be brought. But you need to bring a piece of written data that describes in detail the evidence that your loved one is using drugs, and you want to confront him or her or them with content and not argument. This is not a time to argue. An intervention is not the place for argument. You have to confront them with content only. And that's going to be on a written list so that you don't go on a tangent and start talking about other ideas and history that isn't needed at this point. You have to really stay on task. That's really a critical portion to intervention because, as you'll see, point number 3 is to remember that you're talking to the drugs, not necessarily to a sober person. And I know you know that, but you have to really get this through your mind and understand that anytime someone is addicted to drugs, the substance has taken over their reasoning, problem solving, and creates all kinds of paranoia, anger, and their best bet is to get you into an argument. That's how they win. That's how they get beyond the intervention. So remember that when you're talking to somebody, you don't need to argue their sense or their reasoning. You need to express your point, factual points. And remember that whatever they have to say, that's not really them, that's them on drugs. So you don't have to take it personally. You don't have to let it get you fired up. And they know how to trigger you. And that's their point. That's what they want. Because if they can get you angry, if they can get you screaming, if they can get you upset and slamming something down or walking out of the room or whatever else, then they are now not talking about their need to go get treatment. And that's a victory for them. So point number 4 is to create a crisis for them. That's the whole point of this intervention, is to create a crisis for them. That's why they don't have to be at rock bottom. You create sort of a rock bottom moment for them. And remember that arguments are a comfort zone for them. It allows them to stay in denial. If they're in argument with you and they're getting you upset, then they're in control and they're winning and they're no longer having to deal with their addiction. And you have to really keep things on track. That is your goal. And you have to stay level-headed. And that's why a pre-intervention set your team meeting is all about getting that set, that first point that I made, getting that set with the team and talking about it. What's your strategy when they start to flare up? You need to have the ability to stay calm in that situation and stay on point. And what I'm saying with point number 4 is that you create a crisis for them. And what I mean by that is you bring it to a head by giving them a choice to get treatment or face the undesirable alternatives, which could be jail, getting kicked out of the house, losing financial support, having no contact. This is the point where you as a family member have to make really tough choices. And I do not mean to make this seem easy, because the easy thing to do and what's comfortable is to give them 3 hots and a cot, let them, at least you know they're safe, at least you know where they are, and that gives you that peace of mind and comfort, but know that you're doing that for you and not for them. And this is the point of an intervention, is giving them a choice point between saying, I will support you, we, the family, whatever, will support you in every way that we can under the sun, as long as you are on the path to health and wellness. But if you are not, and you are continuing to use and abuse, all support stops here. You cannot eat our food. You cannot come in our house. You cannot call me for problem solving, for any issue, for any help whatsoever. It ends here. It's over now. This is the hardest line to take with an addict. And it's the part that families struggle the most with. And it's the hardest because usually one or two are here already and said, I'm done, it's over with. But there's always that one or two that just can't do it. They say, and you know what? That person is the weak link in the chain, and they're the one that needs to have the talking to, even more than the addict. Because unless and until that person is willing to stay firm in no longer enabling the addict behavior, the addict lifestyle, then your loved one that is addicted has no motivation to get the help that they need. And as an interventionist and someone that has worked with hundreds of families in the throes of addiction, I'd say thousands, but I haven't counted and I don't want to be inaccurate, but it's definitely hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. This is the point of major contention. You have to really be willing to draw a line in the sand and say, we will support you, we will help you, we will do everything we can for you as long as you are moving towards health and wellness. But as long as you stay in addiction, then you have lost our support. And families say to me, well, what if they just, need to take a shower, or, he's calling and he just wants to use my shower, or he needs a bite to eat, he's hungry, I can see that, or, and they struggle with this, and he has a key to the house. And I say, well, this is the time to make the tough decisions. Change the locks. And if they come to your porch, then they're going to stay on your porch. And if you need to call the police to have them removed as a trespasser, then you have to call the police and have them removed as a trespasser. And if there is something that you can get them in a legal bind for in using the police, then I'll tell you that they are better off in jail than they are on the streets using drugs. And I know that's terrible to think about, but let me tell you something. What's also terrible is having your child or loved one OD in your house. Have them die in your home, right under your nose. And, I've seen this all too close. My wife's sister died in her mother's home of a drug overdose on pain pills. She was diagnosed with lupus and they gave her pain pills, and she slowly disintegrated into a terrible addiction. And one night she overdosed, staying at her mom's house in the safety and warmth of her mother's nurture at home. And I'm telling you that is where things are headed if you are housing an addict under your roof. And it is no place to be. And is it hard to look them in the eye and say, you can be anywhere, but you can't be here? And I'm not feeding you anymore, and I'm not driving you places, and I'm not taking care of you anymore. And I will do anything I can to help you, but only if you're getting well, only if you're getting the help that you need. That's the point. That's the only time that they're going to be motivated. And I've known families that have had to draw this line, and the person has flailed about going couch to couch for 6, 7, 8 months. But eventually they get tired of it and they come home and say, I'm willing, I'll do it now. And that's when you have them. And otherwise, you do a structured intervention like this to help propel that moment and give them the choice and hope and faith that they don't take the alternative. But you can't control whether or not they do. And they may lift up the middle finger to you and say, fine, and walk out the door. But you have to be willing to stay with that decision and hold it. And I'll tell you that if you do, they will eventually, if not that day, they will eventually come to you for help for something, whether legal or because they've outworn all the friends and they've used and abused all their resources, and they will finally come back to you. And that's when you have the advantage. And hopefully the intervention that you use and following these steps, we see success a very large amount of time. If you follow these unemotionally, plain and simple, and stay on task with what's happening. So I'm going to take you through the points just to take us back up to where we are. And then I'm going to keep going because there's 8 points here. Okay. Number 1 is get your team set properly. You want to have the right concerned people who are willing to look the addict in the eye and tell the truth that you have a problem and you need help. And that number 2, you confront with facts only, but with love, care, and concern. It's not about criticizing them and persecuting them for their history. It's about saying, this is what has happened. This is what I see. And you do it with love, because I love you, because I care about you, because I don't want to see you like this anymore. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking to you right now. And number 3, just remember that you're talking to the drugs, not to them. So when you feel triggered and you feel like you just want to, or you can't take it or whatever else, just remember that this is not your son or daughter. This is not your niece or nephew. This is the substance that you're talking to. They are a person that is chemically hijacked. Their brain chemistry has been literally hijacked. That's why it's called the disease of addiction. It's a brain disease. The pleasure centers in the brain have literally been hijacked, and they're on autopilot, and they're on the round robin. Get the substance, use, feel normal again, drop, feel miserable, sick, disgusted, overwhelmed, angry, fueled with all kinds of venom and emotions, and do anything that I can to get more of that drug. And that is the drug addicted brain saying this, not the person. Remember that. Number 4 is create a crisis for them, a choice point. Either it's you go get help, you're on a path to health and wellness, or all help, all resources, everything that we've been doing or have done ends now and today. And we are all united in this. You won't go work her to get him or work this person or that. Everybody has to get on the same page on this. Now, number 5 is you want to focus on drug-related issues, chemically related issues. Keep it focused on that. Number 5 is keep it focused on drug-related issues. Keep it focused on the fact that the addict has a disease and that they need professional help. That's beyond you. You can't do it for them. You've tried your best and you can't. They need professional help. And you need to be specific about when, where, and with whom each of these drug-related incidents happened. And this was what I was talking about with this writing that you bring to the intervention, because you need to stay on point without emotions or distractions. It's not about yelling, screaming. It's not about opinions. It's about facts. Be specific about when, where, and with whom drug-related incidents happened. And you're just literally in this structured intervention stating the facts. So I don't want to get into it quite yet. I'm not ready to get there, but I have what I call, all you see is a blank piece of paper, isn't it? No, you kind of see something here. I grid it out and I hand this out. And what this says is date. This is what happened. This is what I said and did. This is how I felt. And that's how you stay with the facts. That's how you stay with the facts. And I'll get into this worksheet at the end so you have something to work with in order to help you stay on point and stay structured. But number 5 is focus on drug-related issues. This is what happened. This is when. This is where. And you need professional help. And I can't give it. And you need to go where you can. And that's the point. It's about facts. Number 6 is you need to get a commitment to go to treatment or be willing to break contact. You have to be willing to make the hard decision and prepared to make the hard decision that if the person refuses treatment, you're done. And it's not that you don't love them. It's not that they're not your son or daughter or your dad or your mom or whatever family or friend that they are in your life. It's not that. It's just that you decide that you love them enough to say, I am no longer going to participate in your addiction. And you need to be willing to make that hard decision of letting the person go if they refuse treatment. And you know that addiction doesn't just affect the addict. It takes a toll on the entire family. And you have to be willing to take a stand for the rest of the family. You have to be willing to protect those that you love from the person who is damaging the entire family system with the choices of their addiction. And granted, the brain is hijacked, yes. There is a point at which they are beyond the point of choice because it's either suffer severe sickness and despair or use. And it's the cycle. And people start using drugs for one reason and continue on for many different reasons. And at some point, you stop doing drugs and drugs start doing you. And you're just trying to feel okay. And so you have to be willing to and prepared to say, if you don't get treatment, then we are no longer participating in your life. We're going to no longer take your calls. You're no longer welcome in our home. You will not receive our resources in any way, shape, or form, our support. And the only ride you will ever get from me from this point forward is into the hands of a treatment professional, treatment center, or some treatment plan. That's it. It ends here. And number 7 is you need a firm, immediate plan. Do not have this intervention until you have everything set up. You want to put the dots very close together. You want to have a treatment plan set up. You want to have a way to get them to the treatment center that is going to work, either a loved one who's willing to get them there at all cost, lock the doors, drive them there, and keep them in the seat even when they say, no way, I'm not going, I've changed my mind and all of that stuff. Or you need to get a professional and hire a professional. And there are transporters that do this for a living, that get people from point A to point B, that are skilled with folks that are in addiction and know how to get them there. The treatment program often sends somebody or can send somebody that will take them onto treatment, but you need to have the dots very close together. You need to have it planned out, and you don't want to waste any time after you get the commitment. As soon as they say yes, the sale is over, everything ends, and you get them at that moment into treatment. If it's, you don't stop to collect go, you don't stop to collect $200, you don't stop for anything. If they're going to come up with every excuse, I need to call this, and this person, will do it on the way. I need to pack a bag. Okay, pack it overnight, and we'll pack the rest of your stuff, and we'll bring it to you. We'll FedEx it to you. Whatever you want to get them from that moment into transition into treatment. And if the person does not agree to get treatment in advance, you need to know exactly how you're going to respond. And it needs to be in the ways that I've covered previously. It's the creation of that choice point. And in my 20 years of doing this, that is what works. That process is what works. And the eighth and final point is all about documenting the facts of drug use. And that's that worksheet that I was talking to you about. Okay. And I want to go through the first 7 points and then into the 8 one more time, just to kind of give you the window of what we're looking at. Number 1 is get your team set. Concerned people who are willing to unabashedly say, you have a problem and you need help. Number 2, confront with the facts, but with love, care, and concern. And you want to bring that written list of data that describes in detail the evidence of your loved one using drugs, so that you confront him or her with content and not argument. These are the facts. This is what I have seen happen. Remember that you're talking to the substance, you're not talking to the person. So that can help you to not get so triggered by them, what they say, and what they do. And number 4 is you create a crisis for the addicted person. Remember, their comfort zone is arguments. Their comfort zone is denial. So bring it to a head by giving him or her a choice to either get the help that they need or face the undesirable circumstances. And that is, if you have evidence of them having committed a crime, you turn them in. You will get the cops involved and get them to jail. You will cut off all financial resources, home, shelter, food, shower, rides, everything has to be willing to be let go in order to compel them to get the help that they need. And number 5 is focus on drug-related issues. Keep it focused on the fact that they have a disease for which they need professional help, and be specific about when, where, and with whom the drug-related incidents happened. Stay on point, no emotions. Stay out of the distraction of emotion and arguments. Let them, and then you stay with what the point is. If they want to blah, 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 okay, but this is what happened, this is when, and this is with whom. And that I was there, and this is what I saw and experienced with my own eyes. These are facts. This is what happened. You wrecked the car on this day because you drank too much. And this is what happened to you and to the rest of whoever was involved. And this is how I feel about it. And that's it. End of story. This is what happened, when and where, and with whom. And number 6, get a commitment to go to treatment, or be prepared to break contact. You have to be prepared to make that tough decision of, it stops now. It stops now. It's not going to, well, I have to, for the rest of my family, for the rest of the people that I love, and for the interests of everyone involved in this situation, including you, I have to break contact with you if you are not willing to get the help that you need. And number 7, have a firm, immediate, well thought out plan of what will happen as soon as they say yes. You need to have it ready to go. If you can, bags are packed. If you can, have the ride out front. Have everything ready to go for a smooth transition to get on the road far enough away for them to have a difficult time saying no. Because you want to get out far enough where if they finally say, no, 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 I'm not going to do this, I'm not going, and they want to get out, that it's too far to walk home. Frankly, you have to really put them in that kind of a position. And you have to agree that you're going to respond in a very specific way if they don't agree to get help. And I outlined what those ways are in order to compel them to get help. And that is the 7 points of a structured intervention. And the 8th one is all about documenting the facts. And this is how you stay on point instead of getting into arguments. He said, she said, etc. You got to stay all out of that and don't let emotions run the program. Let sense and facts run the program. So to prepare for it, I recommend that everyone brings a list of factual data over a period of time that spells out without a doubt that the person is using drugs or alcohol. Include the date, what happened, what was said and done, and how it made you feel. Include factual data over a period of time that spells out without a doubt that the person is using drugs and alcohol. Include the date, what happened, what was said and done, and how it made you feel. Make sure there's no speculation, only facts, no opinions, only facts, no emotions, only facts. This day, this happened, this is what was said and done, and this is how I felt about it. I'll give you an example. I just want to try to put the dots close as I can. August 2001, I overheard you ordering drugs on the phone. I confronted you, but you denied it and told me I was crazy. I cried myself to sleep that night. I was angry about your accusations and hurt that you wouldn't talk to me. And when you're looking for the data to put on your list of facts, you can look in these areas. Number 1, changes in pattern of use. In other words, denying use, hiding supply, using while alone and you caught them, increased use, can't stop using, an increased tolerance, those kinds of things. So changes in pattern of use. Number 2, behavior when using becomes overly happy, animated, becomes withdrawn or silent, he's staying up all night, sleeping all day, those kinds of things that you are seeing the behavior when using. Number 3, how it's affecting them. Job, finances, relationship, health, responsibilities, safety, family, all of those elements of how their drug use is affecting them and affecting you, your family, extended family, friends, the whole thing, how the use is affecting them. And that's why I do the worksheet, and I'll have the pregame meeting, usually the day before, and we'll fill out that worksheet. This is the one that I was talking about, and it's just real simple, and it's just a grid, and it has the date. This is what happened. This is what was said and done. This is how I felt. It's 4 columns on an Excel spreadsheet. We're not talking about brain science here. It's pretty simple. You keep it factual, stay on point, don't get distracted, Stay out of the emotions. Is it okay to cry and to feel? Of course it is. But what you don't want is it to escalate into argument, emotions, and name calling and FUs and all of that. They can and they will or might, but you can't. You have to be prepared. You have to be prepared to stay in your place of calm and security in knowing that you're doing what must be done. The time of screaming and yelling and accusations and name calling is over when you move into this place. So that's the game. That's how to win it. And I've seen that strategy win. So most of the time it wins on the day of the intervention, but it certainly, over the course of time, it works. And I've seen it work. I've seen it work over and over again. And when people would tell me at the show when I was with Dr. Phil, hell no, we won't go, I would be saying this exact thing to the family. And I'd say, you need to cut them off. You have to say, you're not going to fly home with me. You're not going to have my resources, my help. You're not going to have my support unless and until you're getting healthy. And I will support you till the end of the moon as long as you're getting healthy, but I will not support you getting into the grave any longer. I will not support you in your demise into death. So there is one other alternative to the structured intervention that I've seen work, and that has an extremely high percentage rate of working. And that's to hire someone like me as an interventionist. And really, I mean, if I don't say so myself, I'm the best interventionist that I know and that I've seen. And Dr. Phil and many celebs have chosen me because I truly have been gifted with the ability to look eye to eye with somebody and connect with them at the soul level with love and care and kindness, and help them understand that they are killing themselves and realizing that they're not happy and that there is a way for them to get healthy and happy. And sometimes a family will hire me, and because they don't feel like they can do what I just went over, and they'll just empty the room and it will be me in the attic, and I'll get them where they need to be.
Yeah. Man, so much just great information, Anthony.
Thank you.
Thanks for putting that together. One, I could probably ask 1,000 questions for another 3 hours for the video, but there's a question that I ask everybody that's on, and I'd like to hear kind of what your take is on this. And I'll tell people that are still watching live with us, now's the time. If you've got a question for Anthony, send it to the live text line that I'm monitoring, put it in the Facebook comments. We want to make sure if you've got a question, you get it answered. Anthony, just so you know, and people that are listening know, or maybe if you're watching on YouTube, you need to know this. If you'll go to where this video is permanently at on our Parents Helping Parents Facebook page, at Parents Helping Parents Inc., read the comments to the video. I have put Anthony's contact information, website, and professional Facebook page in that comment, so that if people are interested in reaching out to Anthony with questions or help, they can. But for parents or for families, Anthony, that may be watching tonight that are kind of right in the middle of the storm with a loved one, if you had like 1 minute to give them a message, like what would your 1 minute message be to a struggling or hurting family?
And number one is I'd start with just saying, I'm sorry. It's one of the most painful and most difficult experiences that a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, a friend, or a family member can have. Seeing a loved one in this state is terribly difficult and so painful. And oftentimes, in a misguided way, we're doing just what we feel is what we can. And that misguided approach oftentimes continues the cycle of addiction. And that's difficult to see when you're in the mix of it. But it comes down to this very one simple rule. You support the person to the end of the earth as long as they are pursuing health and wellness. And if they are not, willing to get help, to pursue help, and to be well, then you're faced with the most difficult decision point a family or friend could ever have in a person's life. And it's really the best thing that you can do for them and for yourself. And you can make that choice, and then you can grieve yourself, and you can experience what you need to experience, and you can get a therapist such as Derek and so many others that have dedicated their life to helping people deal with difficult things that can help you walk through that process. But you are doing them, nor you or any of your other loved ones that live under the crisis, everyday crisis of this kind of situation, you are doing none of them a favor by supporting an addict in their use.
Yep. Man, thanks, Anthony. Man, it's hard. We could title this whole talk like pills that are hard for families to swallow, you know. But there's one thing that I always appreciate about your messages, which is yeah, it's hard stuff to hear, but you're willing to deliver it like just with honesty and with integrity and say, I know this is tough to hear, but you follow your heart and you follow your professional training in delivering what people need to hear, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. And that's not always easy to do. I know firsthand. So I appreciate that about you, man. Thank you just for all the information you shared tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me. And if I can help you or anybody out there with your family, it's my mission. Even if it's in pointing you in the right direction, I'm happy to hear from you. And I'm always willing to help. So God bless you guys. And we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us, who strengthens you. And I always remember that Jesus didn't heal every single person that he passed by, that he was able to let people be in their own suffering if that's what they chose to live in. And he helped those that were ready and willing to receive the help. And I think that that's a great model for this type of situation. And if you have a daughter or a husband or whatever in your life, you don't have to have your life ravaged for the rest of your life in supporting their addiction. You can shut the door on that and do what you need to do emotionally to become free and untangled from that situation, so that compels them actually into the care that they need. So it's helpful for both you and them, because eventually they will come and need your help for something. And that's when you have the opportunity to say, you bet I'll help if you're getting healthy.
Yep. Excellent, brother. Hey, thanks for your time, man. I know you got 2 little girls and there's family stuff going on and everything else. For people that are watching, there could be 1,000 different things you could do on a Monday evening. Thank you for joining us. You can always catch our live streams the 1st and the 3rd Monday of every month. So we look forward to seeing you again. Anthony, can't wait to grab coffee and catch up, brother.
Hey, me too, Derek. Always good to see you. And God bless you guys. Thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody.